back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off, it's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from me. He's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Anvil immediately to back like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3, so back and forth.
Got lots of love. Got lots of love. Got lots of love. 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 Love.
Our inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
Welcome back, everybody, to CGL. We are here with our mid-season bracket here, EU Masters Division. Good evening to you all on EU time. It is Plate Group versus one more team for our second match of this bracket here. And of course, with only 3 matches here for this division, that does mean that the victor here is going to the finals of this mid-season tournament. It is Rags and Rain bringing you all the action here this afternoon evening. Rain, how are we feeling about this matchup?
I think this is going to be an interesting one, Rags. This is, of course, the round 1 winner, so it's Plate Group versus one more team, the number 1 seed against the number 4 seed, so maybe a little bit of a David versus Goliath kind of a matchup here, where one more team has already lost once in the regular season to Plate Group in that week number 1, but both these teams are going to be fighting really hard to meet up with the Pibble Platoon in that grand finals.
Yeah, Plate Group has certainly had quite a few 3-0s already this season, as you all can see right here before you. Yeah, this bracket, pretty truncated in terms of what we have, you know, between these 4 teams that made it here to this point. But yeah, so whoever is the victor is, as you say, going to be facing Pibble Platoon in those finals. SCR Ascendant did not make the cut here. So yeah, it is very much an uphill battle here for one more team. They are sitting pretty even in terms of their record coming into this match, whereas Plate Group undefeated so far here, Rain. And as you mentioned, that last showing, only a single map was one more team able to take off Plate Group here, who've had a number of 3-0s already. So really looking like the team to beat here. I'm curious to see how one more team is going to measure up, if they've done their homework, if they've learned from their past loss, or if it's going to be just a simple redux of what we've already seen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. It was a bit of an upset, at least between Pibble Platoon and SCR Ascendants. So SCR did go into that with a 3-1, so they were the higher seed, and Pibble Platoon did manage to find the win there. So you never know what could happen in these mid-season tournaments. I do feel like kind of like taking a break from the regular season. Everybody locks in really hard on the mid-season tournament, because this is kind of like a taste of what's to come in those playoffs at the end of the season. And of course, these teams are fighting to get some extra points so that they'll have a better kind of advantage when they go into those playoffs once we get to the end of the season.
Yeah, looking at the teams a bit more closely in depth here, what exactly we have, of course, on the side of Plate Group is looking to be very much, the leaders coming into this one here. Exactly what they want to do in terms of the bans coming out is always a bit of a curiosity. And of course, we do know where we are headed first off here. You can see it floating around behind you there. Yes, to kick things off, it is going to be that very map of Ilios. Not at all surprised, of course. We do know these ones coming into it here, no decisions. Later on in the series, though, is where we decide things further down the line, is when the losing team gets to pick where they are taking us here. So whoever decides the fate of their opposition here on Ilios, that's where they have to start playing catch up. Of course, these are still first to 3, so only 5 map potential, unless of course any crazy ties happen. Rain, I don't think we've had any so far here in season 17 for CGL. I could be wrong. I haven't seen every single match, haven't seen every single game in all of these divisions across the play skills, but yeah. So looking at our decisions, at our fine-tuned hero calls for our first map, it is going to be Plate Group here with our first ban. It's really going to set the tempo for the rest of the series.
Yeah, and speaking of tempo, a hero that we see get banned out a lot on these map number 1s is that Lucio, and banning Lucio and Ilios would be quite heartbreaking, I think, in my opinion. So Plate Group aren't going to break my heart just yet. It is going to be the cast ban coming out first here, and that definitely opens up the door for some more Tracer to be played. I think the Tracer this season, and especially after the recent patch, definitely getting a lot more play time with those increased kind of projectile size, where now you're on par with all the other projectiles. It's so much easier to kind of one-clip people as Tracer here. So, of course, one more team can't ban out a DPS, and they're going to go ahead and take the Jetpack Cat off the field here, the most banned hero in competitive ladder, and we're going to get to see that transfer over into CGL as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If you're not going to ban out the Lucio, you are going to ban out the Jetpack Cat. Those are kind of mutually exclusive with each other here on these control maps, at least as far as we've seen in recent evidence here between teams kind of at all levels of play. You often want to have that Jetpack Cat to really quickly chauffeur your tank back into the fight, when it's really crucial here, especially on control. Unlike a lot of other map types here, where you just need to have those full team fights, you need to have your tank back in there as quickly as possible. So yeah, it is going to be only the Lucio and Juno able to speed the rest of the squad into this, so Jetpack Cat will not be available. And on Ilios, with so much environmental potential on all 3 of our sub-maps, that does feel like an extra strong protection coming in here. No one wants to be the one caught up by that skyhook and dropped in the middle of the well. Unfortunate, and honestly, video-worthy as it is.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking to have yourself dropped in by a cat here. But Play Group, let's take a look at their roster. This is going to be the starting lineup for them. We're going to have Valerian and Gangam, the DPS, How to Draw on that tank, and then Big Shrimpin and the Best Jinx on the support here. And this is, like we mentioned earlier, an undefeated team here. So this team has been showing us kind of throughout the regular season how much synergy they have been building and how much of a read they have on how they need to play each and every match, adjusted to their opponents here. And like we mentioned already, they did already take a victory here against the side of One More Team.
And speaking of that roster for One More Team, you're looking at Bastion Only and Diamond for your DPS line, Dragon Zent for your tank, and Natasha and Switch Lucio for your support line here. It has been, indicated that they do kind of favor this dive style, so if you do want to play that Winston, that is certainly a possibility here for One More Team. Play Group, I do know that How to Draw does like a bit of that Wrecking Ball, so it is not perhaps the most common tank you see on control maps, on, especially here on Ilios. But it's not out of the question. If you have that pocket Wrecking Ball pick, especially on, I'm thinking on Lighthouse, where if you can just lay down those mines of the objective there, at any clutch moment at all, it just kind of nerfs the potential of anyone to really put foot on the objective. It's really Minefield and like Ramatra's Annihilation, the 2 things that kind of stop any aggression onto the point in their tracks. So yeah, if that's going to be the way we go, again, without the Cassidy, that does really open up dive here, not just for the tanks, but of course for your backline and your flanking DPS. So expect to see those picks coming out here, at least on the side of One More Team. Play Group, the ones, of course, banning that Cassidy. Out the gate here so far, yeah, I would expect Dragon Zent to stick on this Winston.
I am also expecting that. No, I'm a little unsure about Play Group. Yeah, okay. Going to move over onto the D.Va. It is both teams with the Sim, just to get the TP out of spawn, give yourself that little bit of extra space to get positioned around the point. Kiriko Lucio, backline, no surprise. Tracer swap, also no surprise here. So the difference really just being in this Sojourn versus Freya matchup, and then in the Winston versus the D.Va matchup here. So Play Group going to have to really try to capitalize on the burst damage that Valerian is going to be putting out on this Freya.
Dragon Zent already trying to maintain control over the high side of this objective, of course. How to Draw coming in, trying to play spoiler to that Winston, but has to back off. Not much you can do in the face of that Tesla cannon, but Dragon Zent under so much pressure. Suzu spent now here from Natasha, so that is a massive cooldown that is no longer available to the side of One More Team, as Play Group can now capitalize on that more vulnerable Kiriko, but How to Draw gets blasted out of that mech. The rest of One More Team very much there to support their flex support here. It is going to be One More Team getting the best of the opposing tank. How to Draw out of this engagement here, but Valerian still finding a bunch of damage from the skybox, but it's not enough. Again, you can't put food on the objective without your tank so much, so One More Team will take first cap.
Yeah, and that's great patience from One More Team, stabilizing around that cage, forcing Play Group to kind of play into them. And, I mean, with both these compositions, you're more looking at kind of these long-range damage, but if you get a little too greedy, if you get a little too impatient, you're going to lose that D.Va mech, and you're going to lose the tank battle.
Ooh, that is a lock onto Switch Lucio. Valerian very tired of that support, running riot over the objective, and of course one of the most dangerous supports here on Well in particular. So that is an immediate shutdown, a single a single target ultimate there, spent and well spent as it was. So How to Draw, able to clean up a couple of those bodies on the side of One More Team, and Play Group on the back of that Bola shot, which again builds so quickly. An excellent investment for a really quick recapture.
Yeah, very, very clean. They're not drawing out the fight. They're not letting One More Team get any kind of stagger percentage onto the point here. And you can see Play Group already reset themselves onto this high ground. They want to hold close here because you can't give Bastion only space to work with on this Sojourn.
Yeah, speaking of, Bastion only under a ton of pressure. How to Draw diving directly on top of that Sojourn. Has to get bailed out by Dragon Zent, who is now back on a D.Va of his own. So it is going to be the Kitsune Rush laid through here. First by Natasha. Best Jinx holding on to this one here. The remech comes through from How to Draw. Ooh, unfortunately, so much damage still as the Rush comes out now from the Best Jinx, but not enough time to save the D.Va out here. But losing one on the other side as well. It is both tanks down their, both teams rather, down their tank here. D.Va gone from the this engagement here. But Gangnam falling on this Tracer. Diamond as well. We're really playing pound for pound, blow for blow here as one more team. Bastion only does have this overclock ready to go should this fight get even messier here, but it is going to be both divas already back in the fight. Clearly ticking up well past 50% here so far for Playgroup. So one more team would love to get a recontest, would love to re-engage. Sound Bear out from Big Shrimp and Switch Lucio not anywhere near to having that ultimate. So it is going to be a massive advantage here, pushing one more team back. Only losing Bastion only. They're going to be coming back into this one pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that Sojourn ult going to be very impactful here if you can just not have it all eaten up by the defense matrix of how to draw, because yeah, Big Shrimp needed to commit that beat early here as one more team looking to rotate towards this cage. This is where they had the advantage last time they played through it, so they'd love to get Bastion only set up safely in there.
It is going to be that overclock coming through from Bastion only, but again, the focus fire is incredible here. Not able to clean up that Sojourn, but it is Dragon's Den getting booped off and down into the well. It is absolutely devastating. We do not have those boosters available to escape, so unfortunately, down your tank and down your Sojourn as well. 2 bodies already taken down on the side of Playgroup, though, so Big Shrimp and Balerion just coming back off the respawn. Both of them getting here in pretty quick fashion. It is 99% on the board for Playgroup. They have lost their Tracer, so if anything, this is the go button for one more team. They need to get a fight win here. They need to clean up 1 or 2 more members, but it is going to be very nearly a DMech. Dragon's Den just gets healed up in the nick of time with quite literally 1 HP. How to draw now, taken out of mech, but has that remech capability, and no one's able to touch. The fear of that Diva Bomb is critical. One more team, unfortunately, not able to stick that landing. Despite a strong showing at the beginning here, Playgroup holds solid and do not allow a recontest.
Yeah, and it was the clean fight from Playgroup that really allowed them to get that initial flip over, and one more team were just not able to replicate a nice clean fight like that. So if you get kind of these stagger kills, everybody from Playgroup is quite mobile, save for that Freya that doesn't necessarily have any kind of forward speed, but you can get back and recontest the point really, really fast here, and that's exactly what they did. So good start here for Playgroup. Seeing a lot of work being done by these tanks. We are going to be heading over on to Ruins for the next sub-map here, and this TP out again, and then there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment here for one more team. They're going to have Diamond move over onto the Echo, so this focusing beam from the Echo definitely can shred through the mech of how to draw, so Playgroup are going to have to kind of adjust their style. It's going to be a lot of pressure on Balerion and how to draw to try and make sure that that Echo doesn't have free reign over the skies.
Fully agree. My eyes are very much on Balerion here, who is a crucial component of that composition on well. So clear, so crystal clean at those shots from the high ground. At spotting out Diamond and, of course, any of these squishier targets. Switch Lucio was an immediate target here of this Freya. But unfortunately, you're absolutely right, Rand. It is going to be that Echo cutting through that Diva, that bench matrix, meaning nothing here at the end of the day. It is going to be a nearly full wipe here on to Playgroup. One more team coming out swinging here on Ruins. Very solid here with this Echo pickup. Gangon and Balerion having a really tough time keeping the pressure on this incredibly mobile front line.
Yeah, I'm thinking the exact same thing. And the other thing, Playgroup is going a little bit too fast here. With Balerion on this Freya, you really need some of that damage to come through before the follow-up comes, because if you just push in, you're going to get hit with all this damage from the Echo. So Playgroup's going to have another chance at a fight here to try and swap this over.
Anytime How to Draw goes in, he's facing so much pressure here. You do have Big Shrimp and just desperately trying to keep that tank alive, but still facing a ton of damage himself here. It is going to be, the go button is pressed here. That is the bola shot out from Balerion, but you've already lost your tank. How to Draw getting taken down as this fight drags on and on. It is one more team who are very much on the back foot, losing 3 and now 4 already. So that is going to be somewhat of a longer recontest here. Not quite the 34%, but 47 here as Playgroup now in control once again. We'll see if they can maintain that same feat they did on Well.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe a little bit harder to defend Ruins compared to Well, but they've shown that they are capable of it. However, one more team are coming into this. Natasha has this Kitsune Rush. That's a massive advantage to try and push in with, and Bastion only building up to this overclock as well.
Oh, that was a clutch Suzu out there from Natasha, keeping that Sojourn alive and kicking. So that was the one ult the Playgroup really had to use. Already spent and already gone here. Of course, getting the Suzu out is a decent trick, but for an ultimate, that is a very heavy cost to be sure. Big Shrimpin already taken down here as Natasha with this Kitsune Rush. Having it first is such a massive win here for the side of one more team, taking the members of Playgroup down one by one, only just reaching almost equal percentage here before one more team now in the driver's seat once again with more than a few ults to work with.
Yeah, that was really good restraint from Balerion and how to draw, not to pull the trigger on those ultimates. When you see the Kitsune Rush overclock walking forward towards you, need to back up a little bit. Balerion has this bola shot ready to go. Definitely looking to make big value from it. We know that he can hit those. Just a matter of, is Dragon going to be able to deny that ultimate with this defense matrix?
Yeah, love seeing Dragon's Den force the issue so cleanly here. This was very much missing on well, but this aggressive angle out here from the D.Va, crucial to the defensive capabilities of One More Team. However, they have already lost 2 bodies in the face of both support ultimates here from Plate Group. It's a heavy investment, but with the point ticking well past 80% here, you need to spend, you need to get this point flip if you have any hope of closing this out in 2 rounds.
Yeah, and that's 89% here for One More Team. So now One More Team is looking for one more fight to tie us up here on Ilios. That bomb and the duplicate ready to go. I'm expecting that Diamond is going to duplicate over onto the D.Va, so that we're going to have 3 tanks walking around the field here. How to Draw still holding on to this bomb. Probably want to try and use that for a D-Mech. I like this aggressive positioning, but again, you need the damage to come through for Balerion before you can really capitalize on this.
Yeah, that is the double tank coming through. Diamond goes for that copy. Very close to building up towards that ultimate. Can they take down? Yes, not able to get the D.Va bomb online. So it's just the baby D.Va who will pretty quickly get back into the mech, to be sure here. But the rest of Plate Group are able to pincer directly on top of those squishier targets here. While you've got that copy and Dragon's Den on the actual D.Va there occupied, the rest of the team sitting ducks, unfortunately, in the face of Plate Group's overwhelming damage here. That's another team kill. When they clean up a fight, they clean it up good.
Yeah, absolutely, and managed to hold on to this bomb, and we saw what the D.Va bomb can do to teams that are looking to get overtime here, so as it starts to trigger, I'm looking at how to draw with this bomb.
Yeah, such a tough chance to recontest here. Already Natasha and Bastion only just putting feet on the objective and getting blasted for their trouble. Dragon's Den does have this remech here available, but honestly, with the availability of all this cover here for the side of Plate Group, it's not a threat whatsoever, considering the rest of the team is already back in spawn. The best thing you can do here is buy time, so you're going to have a couple members able to just touch, but that is all they're going to do here. One More Team, unfortunately, not able to withstand the overwhelming onslaught from Plate Group, and it has to be said, there was a solid adaptation here on Ruins. It just, unfortunately, was not enough. The cleaner team won out, and we have Ilios going the way of Plate Group.
Yeah, it's a good start here for Plate Group, but I definitely think they're being tested. Although, you know, maybe not getting an actual point on Ilios here, One More Team put up a really impressive fight, especially on Ruins. Like you said, that adaptation coming through, moving over onto the Echo instead, recognizing that how to draw on that D.Va is an issue here. A lot of space is being maintained by that D.Va and a lot of pressure, and that's really opening up the room for Balerion to really kind of pop off on that Freya. So as long as Plate Group can kind of just keep sticking to their guns and making that space, I think that they're looking pretty good. But of course, we have Hero Ban, so One More Team can always have that D.Va ban in the back pocket.
Yeah, of course, seeing both these tanks on that D.Va, they seem pretty evenly matched, if I'm being honest here. Of course, the Winston coming out to kick things off from Dragon on, well, just a little bit too vulnerable, a little bit too prone to getting that bubble blasted down, and then just facing so much damage. I mean, those charged shots, those explosive bolts coming out there from Balerion's Freya, very little that a Winston can do once that bubble is gone. So a worthy swap there, certainly on well, which lasted over into Ruins. But yeah, it's really tough, you know, dealing with all that at range, and of course having that Tracer poking at your backline at the same time. And I think you're absolutely right, Rain. I think the answer was to go on to that Echo, which not only is an answer to that overwhelming D.Va presence, but provides an excellent counter, sort of I feel like depending on the map, depending on the players, Echo and Freya kind of counter each other. It's really just a question of whose playstyle and what team composition you're playing around them there. So I don't think that that swap was anyway sort of a losing strategy here. I think they certainly made the right call. I just think they unfortunately were not able to have those big team moments there. We saw that heavy investment of both support ultimates on the re-engage there from Plate Group turned out to be absolutely crucial to keep the team alive and to extend that fight as long as necessary. Getting an early tick up of over 40% was massive. It really gave no room to recontest in any sort of quick and easy way.
Yeah, and that is exactly what you need on those control maps, right? You can't let the contest come through and drag out and get more percentage here, and Play Group did a good job of that. One More Team felt like, you know, when they had the ults working for them, they were able to kind of follow up on it, but it wasn't as consistent as Play Group. It felt like every time Play Group was using an ultimate, the follow-up was there, whether it was like another ult invested or just the target focus that came out from it. We saw so many team kills come through from Play Group, and usually that is because the target focus is very, very locked in here. So good news for one more team, though, is that they at least will be in control of the next map that we go to.
Yeah, so we'll see what our map is going to be coming up next here. It looks like it's going to be a push, and it looks like it is going to be, yeah, that is Esperanza coming up next. So that is that's really going to change things up here. Push, of course, is its own beast here, not really playing like any other of our map types available to us here in the current state of Overwatch. So Esperanza, kind of the favored, variation of this map type for most teams, if I'm being honest, kind of at all levels of play here. There are some who have that pocket pick of, New Queen Street or occasionally even Runasapi, which I do enjoy, but Esperanza, kind of the default here for most of them. So if you're looking to still rock on this dive composition, that is, this is really the map pick for you for push. It really feels like the natural home for the style of play both these teams were coming out with here. Now, it has to be noted that that might not be the guarantee. That might not be, exactly what they're most comfortable with here. They just kind of felt like they had to run that mirror comp. I'm again looking towards that favored Wrecking Ball pick here on the side of Play Group. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm thinking the exact same thing here. But I agree. Yeah, Esperanza, if we're going into this push map, I'm expecting some dive comps to be seen here. I think that this is still a great place to play the Tracer. You can play the Winston, the Wrecking Ball, like you gave a little shout out here. Definitely we could be seeing that. The thing I'm a little bit concerned with is when it comes to these push maps, you don't want to get staggered out really on any map, but these push maps especially, you really need to have clean fights. You don't want to have long drawn out fights here. So One More Team's going to have to really kind of lock it in for this to make sure that you're getting those resets when you need it. I think that being in control of the first ban is also really important for One More Team. I feel like I could go for a Diva ban here. It's tough because like sometimes you want to hold those until like a final chance, but I think that if you want to play the Winston here, okay, no, you know what? This is also a very smart ban from One More Team. Yeah, the Freya, definitely a lot of pressure on the tank, but also on your supports too.
This might be kind of insane here, Rain, but I want to see Play Group ban out the Diva. I think if you are forcing this dive mirror and you know that you've got that ball available, and that just can, if you can't have the Diva access, you have the Winston, and of course, oh, all right, it's going to be the Winston ban. So one of those two things, all right, so we can expect that the Diva will be forced. You kind of do know that Dragon does favor that Winston a bit more heavily here, so you feel like you're able to win that Diva mirror if that's going to be the play here, or again, you can run circles around if you want to go on the Wrecking Ball. I know I keep talking about it. I just want to say at some point during this series here, because I know that How to Draw has an excellent Wrecking Ball. I know that is one of his favorite picks here. But yeah, the Winston ban is going to once again force One More Team, if they want to keep up the pace and keep playing this dive comp, they're going to have to be on the Diva once again.
Right, I don't hate it. I do think that the Diva was a good look for Dragon Zen. Definitely going to have to make some adjustments, I think, if Play Group either go on to the Wrecking Ball, or if they want to still run the Diva comp themselves, they definitely can do that as well. I think that One More Team still having that Echo available to be played here on Esperanza, I think that maybe not as easy as Ruins, where there's not quite as much cover to kind of hide behind, but I think that the Echo comp paired with their Diva looked really good. So I think that if they want to run that here, they definitely still can do that. And then you don't have to be worried about this Freya bursting anybody down. It's going to allow for a little bit more kind of space for your own Echo and Tracer to kind of work with here. And then, yeah, the Winston ban, I think that One More Team can work around it and still be okay.
You know what it is, Rain? I think I'm reading the tea leaves here, but since the ban came out onto Freya, kind of the most clear and present threat to that Winston that One More Team are running here, now you want to get that out of their hands. Freya is kind of most easily countered by that Diva being played, so once that is off the board, the D.Va, you feel like you can answer that on your own, no problem there with your own mirror comp or whatever that ends up being here at the end of the day. Winston can get easily blown up by that Freya, but I think this is kind of the response to that ban. I think if I am the side of, you know, oh goodness, our team, yeah, play group here, I think that was one of two. I think you have two levers there. One is Winston, one is D.Va that you ban out. So I think that was the right call here. Currently hovering that Sigma. Again, this is still, could easily just be bait. But we've seen more and more these teams run these, you know, traditional poke style compositions, but still being chauffeured very easily around these maps here, usually by a Lucio. But if you're going to stick with this Brig and Zen backline, very greedy, but of course the Brig there to keep that Zen alive. All right, honestly, I love this. You know, this is an absolute curveball being thrown by one more team here.
They're cooking for sure, and Playgroup might not expect this. I will say, however, I think that one more team are going to struggle against this Zarya Vendetta if they're not able to get the poke damage done quickly. And with Playgroup having the Lucio and one more team not having any speed of any kind, it's going to put a lot of pressure to try and find this damage before Playgroup just walks on you.
Bastion only already under so much pressure here. You do have both this Vendetta and this Zarya running directly at you here. One with a sword, one with which might as well be a sword. That energy lance essentially here. So it is going to be Balerion and Bastion only fighting over dominance here with this Sojourn. Already there's a bit of contesting happening here at the Central. We've not really had a ton of progress so far. The bot is still being contested by both these squads here. Gangam under enough pressure. Again, that Discord can be absolutely clutch, including up a Vendetta diving directly on your noggin. So it is going to be one more team. Finally, you know, what we thought might be at a compositional disadvantage here. Might have been expecting that dive, which certainly would have been an easy win for them here. They still cleaned up on this Zarya Vendetta comp. So play group, they're the ones back at the drawing boards. And yeah, how to draw, very adept at doing just that, is going to swap to the Ramatra.
It's the right call. It's the swap that really needed to be made here. But I think that the Natasha with the Zenyatta, that Discord Harp is still going to be a massive problem here for Playgroup. And I like the way that one more team is really kind of capitalizing on these split targets. They see Playgroup have somebody off on an angle, and all the poke damage immediately going towards that person.
Diamond's venture here is absolutely such a linchpin of this composition. Already getting 2 kills here, cleaning up the DPS line, just erupting like an underground assassin here, cleaning up to make that 3 already as Natasha takes down Big Shrimpin. And how to draw, I mean, that is a bit of a lore expected takedown there coming through as Natasha, as you said, Rain, on this Zenyatta, not nearly as vulnerable as we historically might think.
No, right? Especially up against a Lucio. It's impressive that one more team is able to kind of withstand the engagements from Playgroup so well here. And now you're going to have Bastion only with this overclock. Diamond, like you mentioned on that venture, doing so much damage. Oh, even going to get the first pick here as they already have the forward spawns here. So one more team are just kind of barreling forward at this point. They have ult advantage because How to Draw did have to make that swap. So for Playgroup right now, it's just about trying to get an opening to go for an engagement here. You really need to use this Lucio speed to your advantage.
Yeah, one more team. Well, they certainly would have had all 5 ults available if Bastion only was able to survive that duel there. Diamond cleaning up Big Shrimpin, who's been going for these Lucio plays, but unfortunately not able to find the success that he was on that previous map of Ilios there. It is going to be the Flux coming out, Dragon Zent taking down Balerion, the best Jinx, and How to Draw falling soon after. So despite building up towards a couple ultimates in this fight, Playgroup not going to be able to spend them for a few more seconds here. And already, this barricade has not stopped all the way through here. We are up past 120 meters and counting, and we are barely 2 minutes in.
Yeah, and this is really impressive from one more team. Playgroup do have some ults to come back into this, but having to use your ults right outside the spawn room is not great situation.
The cleanup kill onto Balerion, who immediately, just as that lands, gets taken down by that rail shot. A perfect duel, an honorable agreement here, certainly, between these two players. Finally, one more team getting team killed here. Playgroup have some ballast beneath them, but I mean, Rain, this is a massive deficit to come back from here. Less than 2 meters is all they had to their name, and now spending 3 ults just to stay alive. You had to here, but yeah, you are very much on the back foot. You have have to make such a Herculean uphill push.
Yeah, this is a big achievement for one more team to set yourself so far in the lead here. You know, just under 6 minutes for Playgroup to try and at least finally get some progress here on their barricade. Having this annihilation is really big. There's no speed for one more team to run away, but one more team has been playing so split here that you're probably not going to be able to chain that annihilation together like you would if you were playing against a brawl comp.
Yeah, of course, one more team spent heavy in that last engagement, so they're going to be spending these next couple fights here building up towards an ult bank of their own. How to draw with Annihilation, it lets it rip, but the rest of the team just kind of backs up here. It is only Dragon's End who cannot get away very quickly, so yeah, that ult is going to wear down and get completely obliterated here by Bastion only, who has been fully unleashed in this Sojourn duel, cleaning up more than his fair share here. Balerion honestly looking a little bit sheepish in comparison. Big Shrimpin trying to stay alive here on this Lucio. I do not, well, all right, might just get away with life intact. That Disco Orb dissipating pretty quickly here. So one more team, however, are back in control of the barricade. So all that progress, all that time here, only for 10 meters for Playgroup to gain.
Yeah, and the ult's committed from Playgroup as well. Now, Best Jinx is over on the Baptiste here, so looking for a little bit more burst damage to try and sustain through all of this poke damage that's coming in from one more team here. But one more team, again, controlling these angles, and Natasha has this Transcendence to go for a second fight here if they want to stop this barricade back in the middle.
Diamond is playing this venture so cleanly, taking down an Immortality field. Everyone on Playgroup looking a scotch more vulnerable here as this fight kicks off well and truly. Going into the skybox to answer Big Shrimpin and switch Lucio there with that whip shot just to clean up that high-flying wall-riding frogman. So How to Draw, however, is still able to put so much damage in with those arms directly through that shield of the Brig, but it looks as though trades happening here on both sides. Only one, though, still holding on to their tank for a few moments longer here. So Natasha, with the benefit of that protection from the Sigma, cleans up Gangam. That Tracer, not at all the natural predator we usually expect here. Natasha's Zenyatta here, honestly kind of unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying, and when your backline is, you know, a bloodthirsty Zenyatta and a Brigitte that is cycling through cooldowns really well,
Gangam is just not going to be able to get anything done on this Tracer, so it is a Balerion that has the overclock ready to go here, but one more team have 4 ults ready to go. They're going to be able to cycle through these and get a lot of space.
Overclock here, Balerion spending it. Yeah, that is an excellent sightline to be gained, but that is going to be Natasha popping that Transcendence, desperate just to get back and stay alive here. Bastion only offering that mirrored overclock coming through, so one more team have a chance to continue pressuring out their opposition here, but Natasha finally falls. That powerhouse for the squad gone here, so just the healing of Switch Lucio to keep you alive here. They're still going to commit and invest. I love the hard aggression here from one more team. It's Tectonic Shock and the rally in tandem here to force Playgroup back one by one. Big Shrimpin gets out alive this time here, has that beat ready to go, but we are fighting once again in the spawn doors of Playgroup.
Yeah, one more team are going to be on the back foot now. The beat committed here from Big Shrimpin, and you do take down Dragon's Den here if you're Playgroup, so it's going to be pretty hard for one more team to stay committed into this fight now. Yeah, the Venture Diamond going to fall as well. So it is, again, a stabilization here for Playgroup, but right at their spawn door had to commit the beat and use the amplification matrix there as well. So see how much space they're going to be able to get here, because everybody from one more team did get that forward spawn, and you can see they're making this rotation onto the high ground. It's all about doing this poke damage, and I like that How to Draw is over on the Sigma now. At least you're going to have that displaceable shield to try and protect your team in these rotations.
I think you honestly just need to go with the mirror here into what Dragon's Den and the rest of One More Team are putting out. And How to Draw, of course, does already have this Flux available, ready to go. However, you've already lost the best Jinx. Oh, so much of your healing completely gone by the wayside. A massive Pulse Bomb out there from Gangam, however, is able to clean up to make that a 3rd and 4th here. Taken down from One More Team. Look, when Playgroup clean up a fight, they do so in style.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and that is, I feel like that's what they needed. They needed to get a really clean fight win here to start moving this bot a little bit. I like the rotation up as well. You're going to be in control of this bridge, so it's going to be hard for one more team to kind of push into this, but where you have this Tracer, you're not going to be raining down kind of as much damage as one more team did when they were on that high ground, where they have the Sojourn, and they have the Sigma, and they have the Zen here. So How to Draw, wanting to go first with this Gravitic Flux. The Transcendence hasn't been built up yet here by Natasha, but is going to have to be aware of Dragon's Den. You know, could possibly get an accretion to cancel this out.
Yeah, honestly, having Discord on you at that high ground, you have to deploy that shield there. How to Draw, desperate to stay alive throughout the duration of that ultimate, does just do so. And they get that cleanup kill onto Natasha. That is more than worth it. You take that any day of the week. Gangnam coming back in to take down Switch Lucio. Bastion only falling. This is going to be Plate Group powering forward. It looks as though if this fight cleans up in their favor, they will be capping this initial point. But again, still so much distance to make up. But this is how you start.
This is it, right? When you want to win a push map, you gotta chain together fight wins. It can't be this back and forth that's been going on. So with 40 seconds left, Play Group finally locking in here on Esperanza. Have this overclock ready to go. Best Jinx has the amplification matrix as well, but one more team done a great job of kind of holding on to their ultimates. Now it's a matter of trying to get these out, getting a cycle going, because you are gonna need at least one of these ults to try and win a fight against Play Group.
20 seconds left here. One more team just need to win one more fight to clean this one up and send it to a tied score between our series here. It is going to be the window out from Best Jinx alongside the overclock here from Balerion. They need to find a couple pickoffs. Sound Barrier as well from Big Shrimp, and they are hard investing in this fight. They need to come up big now. Gangnam spending that pulse bomb as well, taking down Dragon's Den. Natasha and Switch Lucio also falling. So it is overtime, has been triggered here. Plate Group in control of the spot, but one more team, they spent nothing in that last fight. Again, it just needs to be one fight for them, but this is Plate Group's best possible chance. They need to stick to the bot. They need to stick to their guns here. It is going to be one more team. Tectonic Shot coming in from the back line. Diamond here, ready to roll. Lets it down directly on top of the bot. If they can take down How to Draw, and they do immediately. It is Diamond 2 taken down at the end of the day here. Everyone else from Plate Group falling with all your ults gone. There's very little to protect you when the ults come spilling out of one more team's pockets. That is a fight win, a map win here, and a tied series as one more team tie us up.
This was a really, really great map for one more team to kind of find their footing in this series. You know, it's so smart to see them come out with this poke composition, anticipating that there was going to be a dive of some sort, but then making it work despite there not being a dive, and then showing us at the very end of the map also so smart, so aware of what their win condition is kind of at every moment. You have 5 ults ready to go. You don't invest them. You let all the ults come out of Plate Group, and then you just walk in with 5. Honestly, very, very impressive showing for one more team, and they 100% earned that map win to tie this series up.
Well, it's 1-1. Might as well read 0-0 here. We'll see exactly where the losing team of that map takes us. It is now Plate Group's chance to send us to their map choice, but we'll be back with that in just a few minutes, folks. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. straight, new age. Name straight, new age.
Welcome back, everybody. Feels like we just saw each other. I know. We just had two blistering maps here between Plate Group and one more team. Both of them looking here one apiece. So we are still at minimum going to 4 maps here, Rain. And honestly, each of these teams looking about as in control as the other in their winning map here so far. So I'm really feeling pretty good that we might have a bit of a heater on our hands here. It looks as though Plate Group, despite their, previous victory here over one more team, that was a 3-1. So is this the point where they lock in and just clean us out from there? Or is this one going to be a bit of a closer series?
Yeah, I think that you are onto something. We have a pretty good matchup here. Like you said, a lot of back and forth kind of on Ilios, but Plate Group mostly in control of that, getting a lot of team kills, not really allowing one more team to kind of stagger out any of the percentage that they did gain. But holy, did one more team fight back on Esperanza, gaining a massive lead to start things out. And despite Plate Group locking in at the end, making some comp swaps, did not have enough time to make it happen. And in the very last fight, did not have any resources to make it happen. So really good job from one more team to tie things up. But you mentioned it was a 3-1 the last time these two teams faced off in week number 1 of the regular season. So one more team, they have the momentum here. They just got to keep that going as we head into our third map.
Speaking of that third map, we do know which and where it's going to be, folks. It is the newly somewhat glorified Watchpoint Gibraltar here. Yes, in-game you might notice it looks a bit different. Bit of redecorating came through here from Talon. So we are heading here to this classic historical map here for the side of Overwatch. It's going to be Gibraltar. So in terms of escort maps, this is about as traditional dive as you can possibly get here. It really is de rigueur if you're going to stick with this Winston composition, which one more team has been struggling. They've wanted to run this all series long and were sort of forced out of it on Ilios and then deprived entirely of the chance to run it there on Esperanza. So very curious to see if they want to plug in that composition here on Gibraltar. It really feels like that is what's being forced here as Plate Group have decided to send us. Or, I mean, I wouldn't expect to see that same poke composition again. It would kind of be a little bit too greedy for the side. But I also wouldn't be surprised considering it was a massive surprise to see them on that composition on Esperanza. But the Diva Band from Plate Group, yeah, this is what I wanted to see from them last map. I'm glad they're finally making that call.
Yeah, I agree. This is smart. And, having it for Gibraltar, probably even better than Esperanza, although, didn't get the win on Esperanza, but that's okay. Moving on to the next one. It's a good map pick where you're going to be able to force this dive. Like you said, I wouldn't hate to see the poke comp that one more team came out with on Gibraltar, but yeah, it's not really going to be feasible here. Are going to ban out the Brigida here, so if one more team are going to be over on this Winston comp, like we're kind of thinking is going to happen, it's definitely going to be a lot more accessible to dive the backlines with that Brig out of the mix here. And despite Brig not really having a place solidly in the meta, she does still make a reappearance on Watchpoint Gibraltar a vast majority of the time here. So I'm interested to see if these teams are going to end up playing some of that Jetpack Cat instead.
Yeah, honestly, whether you're running that Juno or running that Ana, you love to have that Brig there to play protection. So yeah, as you're saying, Rain, just opens up the dive potential here for both these squads here. Expect a bloodbath in the back line if the opposition has their druthers. So plenty of room for Jetpack Cat to find some success here. Of course, if they want to be boring, they could still run that Kiri Lucio. Not as common on these escort maps, because again, the pace of the game really just matters about getting into these engagements and getting back. That payload can only move so fast here, but yeah, it is going to be this same squad coming in here from both of these teams. No change-ups in the roster, only change-ups in composition here. I think if you want to get back, again, Freya has been unleashed coming into this, so Balerion can rotate back to that if that is his particular point of interest. But honestly, I feel like the Sojourn duel was mostly being won there by Bastion, only of course as the previous map did play out. But Balerion did give a solid showing. I think just the team around him was also just not having a great time considering that composition. They had to switch up tanks multiple times in Esperanza just to stay alive. And yep, there you see it, folks. Bit of a different, I mean, it doesn't change a whole lot here in terms of positioning, but a few new points of cover, a slight adjustment there. You have to hop over that bridge in the middle, just a little bit more of an aerial game available to you there. And of course, the fire. It's on fire. Someone put that out.
Where's Wu Young? Where's call the
Get that water boy!
Where's the water boy? Yeah. All right. It's going to be play group starting out on the defense here. And not really a lot of surprises from them. They are going to stick on that Lucio Kiriko backline, which, like you mentioned, we don't necessarily see a whole lot of on Gibraltar, but where that Briggs out of the mix here, it is going to allow for a very survivable backline for play group. And then Balerion back over to Freya and Gangam over on the Tracer here. So it's pretty standard here. Now for one more team, they are going to be on the attack here. So they're going to have a little TP out to get their supports positioned and a little less conventional for one more team, as it is going to be Bastion only on the Hanzo and then going to be on that Iyari on a backline here. So one more team are still looking to really put out the poke damage despite not being on a full poke comp.
Support flexibility here, kind of insane for one more team. Switch Lucio and Natasha, both, well, of course, trying to stay alive here in the face of that dive from How to Draw. Woo, that anti-nade nearly spelled the end of that Winston, but just able to get back in time, get healed up by that squad. Dives right back in once again. Switch Lucio, desperate to get out alive, but unfortunately, that Tesla cannon reaches just a little bit too far to get away. So one more team. We'll see if that Iyari stakes. I honestly don't hate it here. I think compositionally, it works really well with what the rest of the squad is trying to operate with here, especially with Bastion only still on that Hanzo, which again, not something we see very often here, especially on the offense. So still having to worry so much about this damage coming in. Balerion kind of uncontested here in the skybox. Really only Natasha and Switch Lucio can pay so much attention to that Freya. In the backline, of course, you also want them healing here on occasion, but of course they are still trying to keep themselves alive here at all points. So it is the defense from Play Group really holding strong so far.
Yeah, I am impressed with this defense. Play group definitely locked in on this composition, well practiced here. One more team, they really do need to find the opening pick if they want to win these fights, because otherwise your backline is still going to be very accessible for the dive. So definitely like how low the HP is getting here for one more team to try and push in.
But Dragon's at the first one to fall down, so Play Group's defense already coming up huge here. How to Draw, again, despite getting hitting all that CC, is still able to rotate back and get healed up by Best Jinx and Big Shrimp. And of course, that bullet shot once again spent essentially as soon as Balerion has that. He just immediately goes ahead, lets it rip, locks up one of those crucial targets. It is going to be once again Dragon Zent facing so much pressure here on the high ground. Bastion only, Dragon Strike finds a kill. Chalk that one up for the history books, folks. Love to get to see that here on a broadcast and not just in those unranked games. Best Jinx cleaning out Dragon Zent, though. That might stymie this offense a little bit further, especially considering, oh no, Diamond's still here, still present, still on a bit of a tear, taking down Gangam. Has that Pulse Bomb ready to go. It is going to be as well the Consider Rush laid through by Best Jinx. No support ults being used right this second here by one more team, having already spent that Nano, and of course that Captive Sun still waiting just a bit. That is a long drop for Natasha. How to Draw, fade away to be sure. As the Primal Raid dissipates, it is going to be the defense holding strong once again here. The payload, however, has made some serious progress all this time, so even if one more team get held here, they still have over a minute to get back, and this is the best place for them to re-engage.
Yeah, exactly. The payload is so close to the end here that Diamond on this Tracer is going to be able to really force some attention away from this high ground, because right now that's what one more team need. They need to be able to get access to this high ground. You need your Iari and your Ana to be set up, honestly, in the server room, but you got to start with the high ground first and make your way through. So pressure's on Diamond now to make Playgroup turn around or just, hit some headshots.
Bastion only does the thing that I'm sure a Bastion would only do there. Taking down Balerion in the Skybox. A crisp headshot, spitting those logs from the Hanzo. Another Dragon Strike taking down Big Shrimp. And again, Shrimpin, my friend, you're just having a really tough time. I am sorry to see that. It is going to be one more team breaking open this defensive hold. And not a moment too soon, as we are well under 30 seconds here. Nobody going to get back to touch and contest in time. 2 minutes 50 in the bank to get through point B. Hangar mode unlocked. One more team finally able to breathe a moderate sigh of relief.
That's right, and still holding on to this Primal Rage. Now, I think the problem that Big Shrimpin and the best Jinx are running into in this backline is that there's a lot of one-shot potential on one more team. So yes, you have the mobility to try and run away, but you're just getting picked kind of right out of the fights here, so you're having a hard time staying in them and finding the value.
Although shutting things down here immediately as we head into the hangar is crucial for the defense. Playgroup proving they can make that happen in spades, taking down both the tank and that Hanzo early on here. Now it is down to one more team. Ball's in their court to recontest this, and this is honestly, despite the changes to the terrain of the map here, still a pretty tough re-engagement angle for the offense.
I'm thinking the exact same thing, Rags, especially with this comp that one more team is running, but Bastion only just finding the headshots. Unfortunately, Big Shrimpin just seems to be at the end of the most of the time.
Yeah, that's deeply unfortunate. I really feel for Big Shrimp in here on this Lucio. You should be mobile. You should be able to get out of the way. But as you said, the one-shot potential is just too solid there. And that Dragon Strike, if you're not expecting it, we've already seen from Bastion only that he's able to position those ults in angles that even Big Shrimp cannot see coming here. And this card has not stopped rolling here once they have control. One more team, and who's going to contest it? Balerion? No, the Freya on the cart is immediate death sentence here. Dragon's Den already diving directly onto the back line, taking down the best Jinx here. They do lose Switch Lucio and Diamond, so if anything, this is the best chance Playgroup have to keep themselves alive, but there's only 2 bodies left on the payload. Fortunately, one of those is a primaling Winston, so how to draw might be able to lock things up just long enough here, but 4 people still alive on the side of the defense, so that should be enough to shut things down for a few moments longer here, under a minute for the offense.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good, honestly, for the offense to still be holding on to this Primal. You still have the Dragon Strike. Bastion only has been able to get a limbs with the Dragon Strike, which is sometimes a little bit hard to do when you're up against, the mobility that Playgroup has here. And you have the Captive Sun as well. So Playgroup, though, coming back with ults of their own, getting that initial pick as well is going to just burn some more time off the clock here.
Yeah, one more team honestly just need to disengage here. That pulse bomb stent here from Gangam. I mean, clearly you want to shut this one down before it can really kick off, but Balerion falling down. One more team have decided to do the opposite of that. They are pressing go, put on the accelerator all over the objective here. As a sound barrier out from Big Shrimp and does not hit nearly as many bodies as you'd hope for, considering many of them are already waiting back in spawn. Dragon's Den diving forward. It looks as though this might be the point B complete. Yes, 1 minute 30 in the time bank with only, I believe, 7 seconds left to go. They finally push it all the way through point B. Now with a much shorter time bank, much shorter runway here to clean up point C, but if anyone can do it, it is this squad from one more team.
I agree. That second point was probably the hardest point for this composition that they are running. So now that you move on to third point, there's a lot more of these long sight lines. Natasha's going to move over on the Kiriko as well. So I think that this is going to be the place to try and push this all the way. But Playgroup are going to have that high ground advantage to work with.
Yeah, Switch Lucio has probably been the most vulnerable member of the squad the entire way through this map here, so still spying. That weak point is Playgroup able to capitalize on losing that support here early on, but unfortunately, the DPS are still alive and kicking here. Finally, Gangam shutters Diamond for a few moments longer here, but again, a late kill onto a Tracer is kind of the easiest kill to weather here for the offense now. We are down to about 30 seconds here, so this is the chance for the defense to come alive. Unfortunately, all they have ready to work with here is going to be that bullet shot from Balerion.
Oh yeah, and how to draw, falling early here is an opportunity for one more team to gain a little bit more space on here, and yeah, Balerion down as well. One more team are looking to push this all the way.
Bastion only is the focus of everybody in the server here, offensive and defensive, both your side and the opposition here. But able to stay alive through all of that. That sues you to keep you alive and kicking through that bola shot. So Balerion is just in the skybox now, desperate to touch the objective, but as we mentioned, that Freya does not at all want to be anywhere close to the ground. It is one more team coming alive and putting it all the way in at the end with 0.8 seconds left to go. No overtime here on point C. That is a clean sweep of all 3 points. Yeah, it's not a single second. It's not overtime, but it's not a second. It is 0.8 seconds here for one more team. What a delight of a composition and what a delight of a come alive here through points B and C.
Yeah, I am very impressed with this one more team. Seeing them play kind of the mirror on Ilios and like doing okay, like it was going all right, you know, you're winning some of the fights, but ultimately you're not really getting the upper hand. But then you move over onto these more like quirky compositions, taking a poke comp out to Gibraltar. It's very, very hard to do that and be successful here. I think it really does speak to the mechanical ability of a lot of these individual players. I mean, Diamond and Bastion only very much coming alive on those DPS roles, and you know the supports maybe having a little bit harder of a time because a lot of that resource is going into the DPS to make sure that things are happening here. But I mean, looks good enough for one more team to run on the defense here as well. They are going to start out. Natasha is going to be over on that Kiriko, so locked in on that Kiriko ERA backline now. But Playgroup, I mean, this could be it, Rags. We could finally be getting to see some Wrecking Ball on the field.
Let me see that ball, good people at home here. That is going to be how to draw rolling out for a moment at least on the Wrecking Ball here. Honestly, absolutely right, Rain, because like what do you even run into this composition for one more team? What do you do to counter that Hanzo that you should not already be able to counter with what you're running here? Valerian should easily have the win over that Hanzo who really does not have a lot of high ground potential despite having access to that wall climb here. Valerian on that Freya gets to be in the skybox. Best Jinx taking down Dragon's Den. Alright, so this is finally an opening here for the offense. This will not be that early hold because again it took so long for one more team to actually get running here. I'm sorry, Bastion only has nailed 2 headshots in a row. Gangum and Big Shrimpin completely obliterated from the server, and it's just a rolling around to wait for everyone to spawn back in here as Plate Group, yeah, what looked like to be an early promising start, have to once again wait for everyone else to get back into it. It's going to be re-engaged quickly though, as the spawn doors were just right there. How to draw rolling in your backline, but the rest of the squad still facing so much pressure.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to take this high ground if you aren't able to find that opening pick here, and unfortunately Balerion is not gonna find it, is going to fall victim to that opening pick, and I don't think that Plate Group can really stay in this fight. Maybe just trying to displace somebody from this high ground.
Yeah, how to draw. I'm sorry, that's not exactly what we were hoping to see. I'm glad that you're on the favorite hero of choice here, but yeah, hopefully the rest of the team coming back off spawn, we'll get to see a proper engage coming through here. But again, still having to spend so much time just getting healed back up to full. Usually that is one of the strongest points of this Wrecking Ball, but Bastion only. I mean, with the Sonic Arrow, that feels a little bit disrespectful here. On the Tracer, no less, as well. Gangum is so far behind, almost half the ult charge here of Diamond's Tracer. Pulse Bomb ready, and plenty more for one more team in terms of ult bank, whereas it's just going to be that bolo shot for Balerion.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, you can definitely get value from this bullet shot. There's not a whole lot of movement availability. It's really just that Kitsune Rush or the Suzu and the TP. Yeah, God.
Yeah, that was a clean target selection there, but unfortunately, just that swift step there from the Kiriko. And of course, Bastion only's mobility able to get out of dodge just in time, and the rest of the squad there to back you up. Switch Lucio looking so much more comfortable playing this Ayari on the defense, I think was clearly the weakest link in that comp on the offense, but really uncontested here defensively.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it looks really good using the Captive Sun in this next fight potentially here. Now, Big Trippin has moved over onto the Wu Yang, so a little more kind of poke damage here for Plate Group to work with. Definitely do want to see Gangum put a little bit more pressure on this point, because right now one more team are really just hard focused on this high ground, and they haven't had a reason to kind of turn around.
Yeah, with the cart still pretty much uncontested, now finally they're having to drop down, so this is exactly what you want to see. Called it perfectly there, Rain. Gangam has the pulse bomb ready as well. Launches it through, doesn't take anybody down, but the minefield on the high ground taking down that pylon, and we'll see if anyone else falls or if they're all going to scatter to the winds here. Well, scattered they have, but finally a mine taking down Natasha. One more team did not spend really anything in that fight, though, so we'll see if they want to continue fighting this one out. It is just Diamond left to recontest, and it's going to be really tough. They're going to get back from spawn, but it's not going to be all at once.
Oh, trying to go for the body block is how to draw, but it gets melted in the door. Is it worth it, though? Oh, absolutely worth it, as that is going to be the point capped up for Play Group.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate series of events there. One more team, a Pyrrhic victory for them, taking down that Wrecking Ball, but that is 3 more minutes in the time bank here, essentially. Well, 230 more, I should say here. I know what half of a minute is. Good to think about that. But Dragon's Den having access to this Primal Rage pretty soon here should be a solid defensive utility for the side of one more team here. Play Group, however, about to have plenty of ultimates. They finally cycled their way to being in control of their own fate for at least a few fights more if they have their druthers. One more team, again, plenty to work with, but still pretty low, facing so much scrutiny here. The bowler shot from Valerian, this one connects. Bastion only cannot escape.
Oh no, it is going to be a trade that comes through here. Big Shrimpin going to end up following, and there's that Primal Rage you mentioned, Rags, and yeah, Dragon's Den getting aggressive with it, finding that kill on the best Jinx. That is going to be a stabilization here for one more team, and second point of Gibraltar is a great place to have a long-range composition. Okay, are going to find this trade onto Diamond here, so if you're able to move quickly, you might be able to get the upper hand.
Yeah, Play Group here, you know, compositionally speaking, does not have that same weakness that one more team did on their offense coming through the hangar phase here. Essentially, you know, they have a lot more mobility, a lot more ease of access to come in one by one instead of having to deathball their way onto this objective here into the hangar phase on top of that shuttle, which again, much more easy to access in the current lore state of the map here. Dragon's Den having to head for the hills a little bit to the high ground, about to the flanked side of the objective here, as one more team just trying to stay alive, just trying to shut things down here. Play Group finally getting dumpstered one by one, still losing your Hanzo. Not the worst thing in the world here, despite the value being gained, but that is going to be a lockdown and cleanup onto those squishier targets. Dragon's Den falling as well, so again, despite having momentum in their favor, one more team unfortunately getting taken down one by one here. Switch Lucio does get a kill onto Best Jinx, but that is going to be all as Play Group here now fully within sight of capping point B.
Yeah, and that's Captain Sun was committed there from Switch Lucio, so Natasha does have the Kitsune Rush. Best Jinx is going to have one to match as well, though, so you can see that Play Group are trying to use this momentum of having gotten that late kill to try and find something else.
How to Draw finally feel himself on this Wrecking Ball, I say, as I'm about to cast or curse him. No, he finally goes through, cleans up, that gets taken down. Sorry about that, my friend. That's exactly the way this cookie crumbles, and the way that this hamster mech also crumbles. Dragon's Den taking down Big Shrimp at the back end of it. You mentioned it earlier, Rain. I think this Wuyong swap is absolutely massive here for Play Group. They needed to change something up, and it looks to be just the ticket to actually get them moving. But again, we're down to 30 seconds, and one more team have everything they need to stop this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be so hard to push into the second point because the Bastion only set up on this high ground, just raining down damage here. Does have the Dragons ready to go as well, so it's gonna be an overtime push if Play Group are able to capture up this second point. They have ults to work with, it's just a matter of staying alive and getting that touch.
Yeah, Gangnam taking down Diamond again. That is a massive bowler shot. Valerian does not miss once the rest of the team is in support. Taking down Bastion only, so Play Group, same thing as their opposition here. The overtime clock is ticking and no one is contesting the card. No! That is a cleanup of point B. Valerian, that Freya finally on the point. Must have heard me mention it on the defense there. But yeah, is going to do just that. Cleaning up point B. Hangers finished up, unlocking point C. Honestly, Rain, I'm getting flashbacks of the previous round already.
I am also getting some flashbacks here. Look at this momentum, though, as Play Group are trying to keep the tempo up here, are going to drop the mines, going to find the kill onto Diamond here, but it is going to be not a whole lot of time to work with here for Play Group, so they're going to have to make big use of this Pulse Bomb that Gangnam has ready to go. The Primal ready to go, though, from Dragon's Den, so you got to be careful of the Angry Monkey because the Juggles so far have been pretty good. He's been able to claim at least one kill each time.
Yeah, Switch Lucio has a chance to really come alive here on this Uyari, the final point here. Plenty of room to operate. Of course, Captive Sun gonna be next on deck here after this Primal Rage. How to draw falling, that is a massive blow here to the side of Plate Group. They have to essentially wait it out now for that respawn to come through. Balerion getting shut down as well essentially cements the fact that we are losing another 10 seconds here, and we are 15 to go for the offense.
This is very stressful for Plate Group, but one more team building up some big ults here that are going to make it very, very difficult for Plate Group to try and slide this point into that third. As we go into the overtime fights, it's going to be that Tidal Blast.
Tidal Blast, but Big Shrimp pays for it with his life. Bastion only sniping out on that Hanzo, as only we've seen him be able to do. It looks as though, despite the similarities coming all the way through the map to this point here, it is going to be the shutdown on point C. One more team will do it to him here, folks. Plate Group get taken down here at the 11th hour. It is one more team chalking up a second map win to their name. And Rain, they are now at series point.
Right, this is a team that they lost 1-3 the last time they faced off against Plate Group here, but showing they absolutely did learn from that. Bastion only, just absolutely incredible stuff. We don't get to see the Hanzo a whole lot here, but I don't know, maybe if people are watching this, they're gonna start thinking they need to play some more Hanzo, because Bastion only opened up so many of those fights for one more team, and this is pretty big for them because they just got taken to a map where, you know, Plate Group was hoping to force dive, try to avoid some of that poke composition that was coming out on Esperanza, and one more team was just having none of it.
I was checking this on the back end here. To be clear, folks, Bastion only is traditionally a hitscan DPS player here, whose favorite and most played heroes are Sojourn and Torbjorn. Guess if you want to do the algebra there, the exact midpoint of those two heroes is Hanzo. Don't check my math, that's kind of how that works though. So yeah, Bastion only kind of the hero pick all the way through, both offensive and defensively there on Gibraltar. And again, I kind of highlighted this in the map itself. What do you even run to counter that, Rain, that we were not already seeing there from Plate Group? You feel like that Freya has to have the answer. You feel like either the Winston or in the latter stages, that Wrecking Ball has to be the thing, the more difficult target. But of course, that Winston is a massive, you know, ult battery essentially for that Hanzo. So the Wrecking Ball swap was massive and necessary, but just not enough. It was a little bit too little too late at that point.
No, and you know, I feel like the best answer to that Hanzo would have been the D.Va, which Plate Group banned out. Plate Group banned out the D.Va. It opened up the door for all of these Hanzo logs to just land on your supports for free, which I don't think they could have anticipated that, right? Hanzo, like I said, not getting a lot of playtime here. One more team has obviously put a lot of kind of practice into some compositions that are going to catch teams off guard, and I think that is absolutely brilliant, especially to do that in the mid-season tournament where this is a single elimination you know, bracket here. So you just win, you know, one series against Plate Group here, catching them off guard with some compositions that they definitely have not scrimmed against is a really good move to bring in if you're trying to go all the way.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the mirror on map 1, and guess who won that one? It's Plate Group. So I appreciate and heartily approve of these incredible meta comp swings here for the opposition, for the side of one more team here. But of course, it is once again Plate Group's chance to send us to a map of their choosing, and folks, that is going to be our flashpoint du jour. It's Suravasa coming through. So yeah, expect to see, I mean, I guess I kind of, unless it gets banned out, the Wrecking Ball, I think, is going to be the name of the game here once again for Plate Group. I think that's where they found their best, you know, their best openings here on this sort of high-paced dive composition. But of course, that does kind of lock you in here. It feels like one more team, unless the D.Va is available, which again, you cannot ban out once again here for one of these teams at the very least. The D.Va could easily answer what a lot of one more team is doing here, but is that going to be the answer to everything else? This is Flashpoint here. D.Va is not exactly the one and done solution to these compositions.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. And now Plate Group are going to have the opportunity to ban out first here. And the D.Va ban is still on the table for one more team if they want. So
Playgroup could more go and try to do a tank protect here. We did see the Ramatra come out from One More Team, and I do think that the Ram is very strong on Suravasa on these flashpoint maps where you can force fights on point. So you could go for that. It is, oh, okay, the Venture ban. Yeah, I do like this. This is, you know, keeping in mind what One More Team played before they suffered at the hands of the Hanzo here, and I do think that the Venture very strong on flashpoint. So good ban out here for them.
Yeah, I'm glad they did not forget, because Diamond was an absolute menace there on Esperanza. Very much allowed them to run riot with that composition. So if you're going to, yeah, I think that was a clear indication that we had Playgroup wanting to run this Zarya Vendetta comp. Once again, they will no longer be able to here. I mean, we have had tank bans so far, you know, through most of these maps already here. I love to see this. They have such a clear read on their opponent's compositions, on their win conditions. They know that Playgroup tried to run this Zarya comp here on Esperanza and were bullied off of it here. Neither of these two component pieces, or really any of the necessary components of that comp, were banned on Esperanza, mind you. So now having that ban come through, yeah, getting to see the full list of it here. Only map 1 was there not a tank ban here. These teams have it out for each other, and I love to see the clean reads.
Yeah, I agree, right? And, you know, map number 1 is one of those ones where you could go either way. You just get a feel for what's going on here. But, yeah, ever since that first map ban, the tank bans have been very smart. I'm really impressed, actually, with the bans that have come through for both of these teams throughout the series. Getting, like you said, it's a good read here, and I am interested to see what are Playgroup going to run if they're not on that Zarya. If you still want to run the Vendetta, definitely can. Usually we see that more so paired with the Sig or potentially the Diva here, as I do think that it would probably be in Playgroup's best interest to run this Diva instead. Not sure about the Ashe, but you might be able to make it happen here as One More Team maybe also going to take the Diva Mirror here. This is going to be interesting because, like we said, the Diva Mirror did not go in favor of One More Team when we saw that over on Ilios. So what adjustments are they going to make to this composition to try and get the upper hand here on Suravasa? It is going to be the teleport out tracers for both teams, as we are going to end up on a mirror composition here. So we're going to have to see if Playgroup are going to be able to show once again that they can take these mirror comps. They at least are going to get positioned on the high ground first.
Yeah, it's exactly where you want to find yourself here. How to draw, having a clean read on the opponent's angle of attack here as One More Team coming through. Switch Lucio has to be a bit more careful here, but of course Big Strippin was one of the ones we saw fall so easily. These Lucio, such a clean, immediate target here of the opposing rosters. How to draw under so much pressure, gets forced out, gets caught, not able to back up in time to get back to safety with the rest of the squad. That is going to be both of these Divas out of mech, but How to Draw, the first to fully and truly fall. Dragon's Den taking down soon thereafter. So really going blow for these teams here. Gangnam and Diamond falling. Again, we have lost the exact same heroes on either side, but crucially it is Playgroup who are in charge of the positioning here. Have first cap coming through already, holding down 25% and counting here in market. So One More Team now have to face the long gamut that is re-aggressing on this initial point here. And these points tick up so quickly on Flashpoint, folks. They really, really desperately need to get a fight win here, and soon.
Yeah, it needs to be a clean fight as well. One More Team are back into things, trying to flip this over, but the percentage still in favor of Playgroup here. So the longer that you are not able to find a pick, the worse it is for you. But the flip does come through here for One More Team.
Yeah, I mean, they've lost Bastion only, but the best Jinx falls as well on the side of Playgroup. So we're still trading here. It is going to be both Divas at a single tick of health, both at the exact same ult charge, essentially, too, by the time they went. So we are really having a mirror composition here, full stop. So only 28%, though, gain for One More Team. Playgroup having that initial point capture does really pay off here. And again, you're only going to get one more chance to recontest. Losing Dragon's Den in the back end of that, it's going to be a messy engage if they go for it.
Yeah, I don't know. If I'm One More Team, I am not going for this re-engage here, but I probably would have also have not gone for the last re-engage, and they did get some percentage out of that one. They have the beat to try and make it happen. Good time Suzu there to keep the Zoj alive.
Oh, I mean, they're on the objective with that beat, so Switch Lucio might have just pulled it out in time here. That Pulse Bomb going a bit wide there from Gangnam, but the overclock here from Balerion. It is the beat out from Big Strippin as well, but only 3 bodies benefit from it here. One more team still all alive and kicking on the objective here, and of course that D-Matrix there to eat up all that damage from that overclock. Dragon Zent holding strong on the point. It looks as though once they can clean up this recontest from Gangnam, they will have control once again here. A massive, massive risk there for one more team, but they paid off.
Yeah, it did. Excellent beat from Switch Lucio. I failed to notice that How to Draw was not in mech, so that definitely good trigger for one more team to recognize that Playgroup was essentially down their tank with just the Pilot Diva here, and now they're going to start building up some percentage of their own. They have some ults to work with here, and they want to get some of these quick fights in so that they can build more percentage for free.
Yeah, you can see the immediate focus onto Balerion here. Clearly one of the most lethal members of that squad, but the point has been flipped here. Someone needs to get back to it. Finally, they will do so here. The rush coming out from Best Jinx, who is no longer alive to benefit from it here. Bastion only taken down, but that looks to be the only casualty on the side of one more team. Dragon Zent loses that mech, but goes ahead with that Diva Bomb just to get back in. Ooh, not a moment too soon there. Lost most of that health bar as the Baby Diva, but alive and kicking. But this point, still in control of Playgroup, so no percentage being gained so far for one more team. If they lose a single body here, Playgroups recontest might have just paid off, but it looks as though Switch Lucio able to take down Gangnam here, so no longer being harassed by that Tracer. We have lost that Baby Diva here for How to Draw. Finally, the point flip here for one more team. And I think, again, I'm saying this, Rain, I think there's no recontest here, but if anyone's going to do it, it is Big Shrimpin'.
That's true, that's true. Big Shrimpin' is on an angle, so is Gangnam, but has been spotted out by Diamond here, and it's a beeline towards the point. It is going to be the overtime trigger.
I love this commitment. Both these teams so desperate to fight over. I don't know if I've ever seen a market point go this long. Both at 99% now. Overtime now in the hands of one more team here. But we don't have anyone contesting the point right now. Finally, Tank on the objective here. Big Shrimpin' the first to fall. Losing How to Draw, Mech, and then Proper Diva. That is a fight lost here for sure for Playgroup. One more team. I mean, both these teams so committed to this initial point here. This is really kind of the payoff to this series so far. We are seeing these teams operating at the same wavelength on this mirror composition, and one more team just edging it out the last second.
Yeah, good stuff from each individual player of one more team. You know, on Ilios, it definitely felt like Playgroup was doing a much better job kind of finding the targets in the fights. But as these scrappy fights go on and there's no target focus, that's where kind of the individual skill of the players is really, really going to shine through. So I think that between Diamond and Bastion only doing a fantastic job, and Natasha as well on this Kiriko, everybody's putting out damage from this team.
Gangnam had that pulse bomb, but it's immediately spotted out and blasted down. Bastion only there, not just a hero with that Hanzo. Likewise with the Sojourn, and of course, without that Tracer, the rest of Playgroup are looking pretty vulnerable by comparison. So Dragon Zent's able to boop down Balerion, still having more ultimates here for Playgroup. Bear in mind, they had a lot more to work with coming into this fight, but now with the fight win, one more team and pretty much even the scales.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You can see How to Draw trying to push in here, trying to make some space so that Balerion has some room to use this overclock. It is going to be the beat as well, so Playgroup are going to contest and break through this choke point.
Overclock ready here. Pulse Bomb comes out, but that is going to be a DMAC of How to Draw. So, unfortunate loss there. That is going to be the Diva taken down as well. But one more team are the beneficiaries of so much more damage here as Playgroup staying alive, going even without their Diva, even without their tank here in the mix, are still able to recontest and get the better of one more team. I'm saying this here, but they still have Dragon Zent on the objective here. As long as this Diva is still in mech, it is so hard for all of these heroes who rely so heavily on these projectile DPS here. Even the more hit scan ones can all be eaten up by the Steam Matrix, so it is How to Draw back on the point here, still having access to this remake for both of these Divas here. Sound Barrier from Switch Lucio lands only onto that Lucio and the Diva there, so it will be both supports getting taken down from Playgroup. One more team have the bodies. Do they have control here? That Diva Bomb does not quite demech. Dragon Zent has access to that still here. Overtime already ticking. Playgroup are still looking so vulnerable. How to Draw falls. That's got to spell the end of things here. One protracted team fight to last the entirety of Ruins here. I am losing steam, but one more team just keep on chugging.
Oh my gosh, incredible showing for them on Ruins. And yeah, this team has got the momentum in their favor now. One more flashpoint point is going to be standing between them and victory here. So it's going to be Palace, potentially the decider. There's going to be lots of ults on the board for both of these teams, but it is going to be one more team that gets to set themselves up on the point first and to deny this high ground. Valyrian would love to be able to get set up there.
Yeah, the second how to drop goes in, everyone just laser focuses onto this diva. Balerion, however, is alive and kicking, taking down 2 with that overclock. Turns out to be all you need. Just spending 1. Absolutely massive, good use of resources here. Just checking, just making sure everyone's quite nicely dead there. That's the team kill for Plate Group. This is the Plate Group we saw coming out the gates there on Ilios. Good to see they can still fire even in the face of one more team's momentum.
Right, yeah, locking in here as a team. They absolutely have to do it or they're gonna be sent home. This is single Elim, of course. It is gonna be a Tracer duel over on the side here. Pulse ready to go for both of them, but it is gonna be one more team using this Kitsune Rush to try and break onto the point.
Yeah, Natasha determined to get the rest of the squad there and alive. The later one comes through from Best Jinx. Soundbear as well for Big Shrimp and laid down one over the other. Catches onto 3 targets here from Plate Group. Both those DPS on their own flank, so no need at all to sustain them. The further this fight goes on here, Dragon Zen able to remech. That Soundbear from Switch Lucio available. You really want to save that for these clutch moments. How to Draw does have that remech available as well. Dragon Zen, however, gets out of that mech. The Soundbear comes through, but again, none of that defensive pressure here, none of that defensive posturing from their diva. It is just the pilot form ready to rock on the objective. Still doing tons of damage, might just get back into the mech. No, getting taken down just 9% shy of that remech ult. And it looks as though we have the exact opposite here of Ruins here on Palace instead. It's Plate Group taking this one 100-0 once the dregs are cleaned up for one more team.
Yeah, you do get the D-Mac over onto How to Draw, but I think with Gangnam still alive in this fight, it's going to be very hard to win this out for one more team. The overtime is tickling, but the 3 members of Play Group still alive on this point. However, you mentioned it before, Dragon Zen is back here and is on the Diva, so maybe an opportunity to stay in things. No, there it is, the D-Mac and the kill. Play Group will be able to clean up Palace, keeping themselves alive in this map and in this series. Next flashpoint is just going to be next door. We're heading over to Gardens. Now, this one is going to favor one more team spawn a little bit more, but it does look like Plate Group is going to be able to at least get the positioning set up first. They do have both these DPS ults to work with as well, but one more team are building up to some important ultimates as well. That Kitsune Rush I'm going to be really looking at because Jinx is falling behind in the ult charge for that one.
Yeah, one more team determined to find some positional angles here, but you do have to worry about How to Draw diving directly onto those more vulnerable targets here. Bastion just trying to stay alive. Dragon Zet, though, going for that dive, loses that mech and then loses the rest of the diva with it. So one more team, despite the aggressive recontest here, just not able to deal with that strong positional advantage that Plate Group had. As you mentioned, Rain, all they had to do was just hop, skip, and jump next door here onto Gardens. Palace is just so very close to it. One more team, they're going to have their work cut out for them to re-engage on Gardens, especially considering that Plate Group once again have this sound barrier ready to go. But Big Shrimpin is still one of your more available targets, especially considering that we're already back in this fight here. One more team, when they press go, they do so quick, smart. Natasha here with that Kitsune Rush, but again, everyone getting blasted down so quickly. It's good they only spent one ultimate there, but that is certainly one you'd love to have at a secondary engagement.
Yeah, I have to agree, and there's some stagger kill potential here as well for Plate Group, but it is going to be, yeah, Dragon's Den, not going to allow that to happen. Going to go for a swim here. 4 ultimates for one more team to try and push back in this. The only need to win one more point, but Plate Group very strongly in control. Like you mentioned, both those support ults are ready to go here to try and withstand the pressure from one more team.
Massive opening, though, onto Balerion Bastion, only finding the better of that mirror. So this is exactly what you need to start things off on the right foot. One more team with that sound barrier to engage, but it is the Rush and sound barrier both committed here for Plate Group. Big Shrimpin, though, I don't know how many targets were able to benefit from that, so might not have been the best value for the ult spent, especially considering only 2 taken down so far. One more team still have enough bodies to anchor things down, but Plate Group, not as many casualties as you might have expected, losing that D.Va, though, is absolutely massive. A clutch kill at the back end of this for Dragon's Den. One more team hopefully able to lock this one down, but again, you still have to find yourself focusing every single direction here as the D.Va. Dragon's Den has more than his work cut out for him, and still, this point is in the hands of Plate Group. You need to recontest, you need to flip, you need to get this percentage ticking up in your own end of things. The D.Va bomb there from Dragon's Den. Gengham just a little bit too close, out of blinks, not able to escape that. So with that full mech health available to them, it looks the finally at the end of it all, one more team will get that point flip, but it is a long way to 100%.
It sure is, and had to commit everything into that just to get that flip over. But you are looking to get aggressive here. Would love to be able to have a stagger kill. Have to be careful, though, because you really cannot lose this D.Va mech for Dragon's Den. Plate Group going to have ults coming into this to try and flip this over. They only need one more fight win here on Garden to tie up Suravasa. They got the Pulse Bomb and this Overclock to work with here. So it's going to be a lot of pressure onto Dragon's Den to stay in this mech and eat these ults up.
What we were seeing on Market, that first point of Suravasa, which felt like 10 years ago, was really a level of aggression from both these teams here, but things are kind of starting to devolve here. It's getting a little bit messy. Both of these teams desperate to hold on here. Of course, if one more team take this, it's the entire series in the bag, but Plate Group, they are desperate to stay alive. Their backs are up against the wall at this point, but that sound barrier from Switch Lucio, utterly clutch. It is going to be Big Shrimp and mirroring that on the opposing side, but Plate Group are down their, already down their Sojourn here, but Dragon's Den, an even bigger loss for one more team. So Plate Group, and this is theirs to lose at this point here. Natasha taking down the best Jinx. There are still enough bodies here for one more team to contest this, and of course that D.Va's gonna get back so quickly. That is the D.Va bomb here from How to Draw. If you can stay alive, you can't though. It is the kill coming through, the commit from Diamond to take down that baby D.Va. This might be it here, Rain. One more team have just a couple bodies here on the point, but it is that D.Va, crucially that full tank ready to go. It is just Gengham, desperate to stay alive, desperate to build up towards this final Pulse Bomb here. That D-Mech is absolutely massive. The Kitsune Rush from Best Jinx, well timed here to get that point flip. Overtime still ticking, and one more team are down some bodies. Finally, at long last, Gardens goes the way of Plate Group. It was not clean. It was not a very easy victory there, but you take a point there for Plate Group, and we are going down to the final flashpoint.
I am on the edge of my seat, Rags. I gotta say, Big Shrimpin on the Lucio stayed alive for so long in that fight, and Best Jinx, that Kitsune Rush really kept Plate Group alive in that. So we're heading over to Temple for the potential, well, for the last one, the potentially last point if one more team is able to flip this over and win this one.
Glaring back here on the Sombra, to be very clear, folks, that's a hack on the Switch. Lucio has to play these a lot more carefully when you have that immediate focus pressure available to you that the Sombra provides, but one more team very much losing bodies. Plate Group, however, same exact situation. We are just with a D.Va and 1+1 on the point for both of these squads now. How to Draw and Dragon's Den both desperately low here, but it's actually going to be Dragon's Den, the one with that D-Matrix, that ready D.Va bomb online here. My goodness, words starting to fail me already here, folks. One more team get first cap on the point. That feels like a massive win for this team who's desperate to shut things down. They just want to close things out on Suravasa, but that's going to be tough for Bastion only to do when you're taking a bit of a dip with the crocodiles over there. Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that same thing to Dragon Zent on this D.Va, but still getting demeched on the objective is a bit of a tough scenario here. Switch Lucio trying to keep the team alive, but that boop yet comes through. That restraint coming through from How to Draw, just staying alive for a few moments longer, but finally the fight goes the way of Plate Group. 50% though for one more team.
It's a pretty good percentage here for one more team to also be having the support ults ready to go for this next one and that overclock. But Plate Group doing a good job cycling through their ultimates as well, so they're going to be able to match that beat. The Pulse Bomb ready to go for Gengham. I think the bomb is going to be very impactful. You're probably only going to see How to Draw use that to go for the remech, but Diamond on the Tracer has been pretty good at denying those remechs, so you're going to have to be really careful if you go for it if you're How to Draw.
I mean, momentum here for Plate Group, but losing Balerion early on here is a devastating misstep. One more team, 2 kills here for Bastion only with that overclock, taking down both members of the DPS line. How to Draw just desperately trying to find some more percentage, but that is unfortunately short-lived here as one more team already back in control, and this is exactly the tempo we want to see from the team in red right now. Plate Group coming into this with just a couple ultimates here, but one more team, same boat, very little to work with.
Yeah, not a whole lot. The Pulse Bomb, not going to be necessarily, fight winning here for one more team. But if you're able to find a kill onto Best Jinx, you could shut down this entire next point and lock out Play Group from really even getting a chance to go into this fight.
Yeah, for one more team, this is final fight territory here. Dragon's Den already eating so much damage just on the approach. If you can keep your Diva alive, not able to build up towards that remake ultimate, so this is going to be a really tough fight here. The longer and longer it drags out, one more team losing bodies left and right. It is going to be Play Group finally finding that flip, that recontest. That Kitsune Rush had to be spent, but crucially, they've built up towards 2 more ults in this next fight. Finally, the flip at 68% here. One more fight to decide it all.
Of course, it needs to go down to one more fight on the 5th point of Saravasa here. Play Group in control, trying to stay alive in this series. You have the bomb still. You have this overclock to work with. One more team building up to this beat is going to be very important for Switch Lucio. You need to make sure that you stay alive long enough to get that on the board.
But already overtime is rolling here for Play Group. Defensive team has the advantage here. Balerion taking an early kill onto Switch Lucio. You were counting on that sound barrier. A devastating loss of your main support here. One more team down. Both make that 3 already as Play Group very much in control of their destiny. They are determined not to lose on Saravasa. No, it is going all the way. We are heading to a 5th and final map in this series. Play Group will take Saravasa. Their map choice has gone their way. And Rain, we are going the distance.
Oh my gosh, that was a very stressful one for both of these teams. Unfortunately, for one more team, they weren't able to finish out
the final fight here because they committed 3 ultimates in the fight before. I loved to see the aggression come out from them, but unfortunately, the aggression was also paired with a really big ult dump in the second last fight of the map, and that just means that you're going into a deficit. And on top of that, like you mentioned, Play Group had the defensive advantage where they were already in control of that point. So fantastic job from Balerion on that Sojourn to get big value from that overclock. And I mean, this is a heck of a winners round 1 here for the mid-season. It's so fun to get to see this one more team put up such a great fight against a team that they lost to previously.
But folks, it's going to be a couple minutes before we actually get to see that. The teams and we and you, I think, need a brief break here, but do not go anywhere. The conclusion, the ultimate map comes up right after this. Folks, if things were heating up before, they're at a fever pitch now here between both of these teams, looking incredible so far through the series. Plate Group and One More Team really giving as good as they get here. That was such a close final second to last map there on Suravasa. The last one we got to see, of course, the final so far. But of course, the last one for everybody here, where all the marbles will be spent and scattered. Rain, I want to give you 3 guesses as to what hybrid map it's going to be.
What hybrid map could it possibly be? Of course, it's King's Row. It's always King's Row. It's interesting, also, I have to say that we are going to a hybrid map for our 5th and potentially final map. As you never know, Rex, there could be a draw here. It could happen.
Yeah, that potential is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. If they really want to extend this, they certainly could. One More Team and Plate Group, though, I think they both are desperate for this win. If anything, if Suravasa was anything to go by, they are both willing to shed every bit of blood, sweat, and tears they have to clinch this one out at the very end. I mean, essentially from the beginning, from jump on Suravasa, Market was one of the longest first points I've ever seen on a Flashpoint. Both these teams so eager to recontest, so eager to re-engage, and honestly, by the time we got to Gardens, that eagerness, that aggression was kind of getting a little sloppy for both these teams. They both really tightened things up, though, I will say. On that final point, things were looking a lot cleaner, but unfortunately, just was not able to keep things alive for One More Team. The momentum was so heavily in favor of Plate Group, and they were able to stick that landing. So they bought themselves a stay of execution, but only to go to King's Row. So One More Team get the first choice of bans here, and as you've said before, Rain, these teams have been so laser focused on their opponent's strength that I'm expecting some really pivotal bans here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what One More Team would ban out here. Okay, I don't have to think too hard. It is going to be the Tracer ban coming out. I think that makes sense, although Diamond putting up a really good performance on that Tracer. Gangam, just phenomenal, finishing up pretty much all of the damage that came through from Plate Group here. So taking the Tracer off the board here does mean that Plate Group are not going to be able to ban out a DPS. Are we going to see another tank ban as we have been seeing? And it's going to be the Sigma ban that comes out for them. And, you know, although we didn't get to see a whole lot of Sigma throughout the series, we did see it come out from One More Team. So maybe a good read here on what could possibly come out in more of a brawl kind of oak style here for One More Team.
I love both of these bans. I think both these bans are absolutely correct for your opposition here. One More Team having the read, as you said, Rain, the mirror matchup for the Tracer. You were giving almost as good as you got, but unfortunately, yeah, you really just do not favor yourself as much in that Tracer mirror. You'd love to be able to run something like that Venture. Not as common a pick here on King's Row, but much stranger things we've already seen in this series. My goodness, we've seen plenty of Hanzo, which is also not impossible. Like, you can't ban the Hanzo. That would be insane, but it is possible here. Sigma ban from Plate Group, I think, is an excellent read. This is really where these teams have been favoring to run these poke compositions here, whether it is with that Lucio backline or, as we've seen, One More Team run a lot of these slower, more damage-focused backlines. So I think getting the Sigma out of their hands is a massive win. You really have to account for that coming into King's Row. So yeah, really great read all the way through the series here. It's just gonna depend on whose is a little bit better than the others. And also, I really don't think we're going to see Mirror this time. You know, we got to see that all the way through Suravasa, but I think this is where, again, our two teams will diverge.
I have to agree with you, and I feel like the divergence has been kind of favoring One More Team. Is, you know, if they have anything left to surprise Plate Group with, this is where they're going to pull it out. And you mentioned, you know, the Hanzo could potentially be played here on King's Row. I think that Diamond has an opportunity to move back over onto the Venture as well. So I think that Plate Group have really been kind of struggling up against these compositions that are a little more unconventional and where it really does rely a lot more on the mechanical skill. It seems like One More Team is finding those openings just kind of on the backs of their mechanics sometimes. So we'll have to see what they're going to bring out here. You know, traditionally more of a kind of a brawl style, as it's going to be One More Team on the defense first to start out here. So this is going to be the comp that they're on for at least that first point, Rags. And I mean, I'm seeing a Hanzo and I'm seeing a Venture.
If this is how it happens, I will love it all the way through. Bastion only on this Hanzo, having that high ground control, of course, the wall climb, allowing you to get anywhere you'd need to. Freya, unnecessary, no need at all. And Diamond on this venture was such kryptonite for Plate Group on Esperanza in particular. Not able to see that venture, of course, on, our fourth map in the series, but it's a bit of a pause here, folks, just to make it last a little bit longer, just to really heighten the tension, ratchet things up a smidge more, as if it were not already so high tension between these two teams. Honestly, you cut it with a knife here between them. I think you're absolutely right, though, Rain, when you mentioned that when the mirror compositions come out, that tends to favor, of course, Plate Group. But anytime you have control of the composition, you have these off-meta picks, those are the maps that have been 201 taken by one more team here. So just based on this series so far, I'm really kind of favoring their composition on this defense here. We will see if they stick the landing here, or if we finally find that weakness, finally, access that weak point there, if we can have that come through for Plate Group.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I agree. I feel like this right now on paper, we can only go off of what we've seen so far in the series, is looking pretty good for one more team. As we are just in a pause right now, as Natasha, the Kiriko from One More Team, unfortunately has vanished from the lobby, so we're hoping to get him back into things quickly here. But we were looking at Plate Group looking to come out of the spawn potentially on that Ramatra composition. So I do think that if they stick on the Ram, they're going to have a much better time kind of into the tank matchup. But I do think that not really having anybody that's going to be able to easily access that high ground is going to leave Bastion only more or less uncontested on the Hanzo. So it's going to be a lot of pressure onto the DPS for the side of Plate Group to try and find those picks. I think it might have been Valyrian maybe that had the Widow pick hovered, and maybe that's just to try and find an opening pick. But maybe if you see that you're up against a Hanzo, maybe you stick with it for a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, I second that. I think either that Widow, or if you want to, it's very possible here to run both on offense and defense on King's Row, to run an Ashe. I think that might be one of your best answers to this Hanzo. Honestly, was kind of think we might have seen that on Gibraltar when, of course, that Hanzo was so dominant and destructive. You don't have as much immediate one-shot potential as that Hanzo does, but you're more consistent there, 201. And of course, having access to Bob as that ultimate, we see, of course, these teams able to so quickly blast down. But if you just need a clutch body on the objective, whether to contest for or against you, that is kind of a really clutch ult you can possibly pull out at the last second should your need become dire. And nothing would describe these ultimate overtime scenarios here but the word dire. I think between these two teams, they are absolutely experts at taking things down to the wire. So anything you can do to find that slight advantage here. I would love to see that Widow stick. I would love to see an Ashe come out instead. Something to find an answer, because that Hanzo was pretty much entirely unremarked upon by Plate Group throughout the entirety of Gibraltar. And if that happens again, you're going to be kicking yourself tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. Now, one big difference between Watchpoint Gibraltar and here on King's Row is that D.Va is no longer banned out. So, King's Row is traditionally much more favored towards these brawl compositions, but maybe if you see that your opponent is not running necessarily a heavy brawl, now it is going to be Dragon's Den on the Zarya, so it definitely will discourage a swap over on to the D.Va. But at least for this first point, where you have some of that high ground to try and work with, it can be kind of nice to be able to put pressure on that high ground and just avoid the Zarya altogether. But Plate Group do not know what One More Team is on just yet, as it is going to be actually Gangnam that's hovered over this Widow looking for an opening shot. But I don't think that anyone from One More Team is necessarily going to be peeking this, especially where Bastion only is on this Hanzo. You can throw up that Sonic Arrow and get a little bit of early information as, ooh, okay, it is going to be Plate Group swapping some things over here. Gangnam over onto the Mei, and then the Sojourn Ram here. So looking to wall off and burst down these Zarya bubbles if you're Plate Group. And if you're One More Team, you're looking to really empower Bastion only on this Hanzo.
Plate group, a very expected King's Row setup here, already with boots on the point here. Dragon Zent trying to find a little bit of holding position here and waiting out that arms mode, that nemesis form here from that Ramatra. So how to draw, having to fall back just a little bit, poking for some damage here, as of course that Ram is able to do, switching between those two on that cooldown. But you still having to be very conscious of Bastion only there, with the possibility of launching a log into your squishier target skulls, forcing against that Maywell. Dragon Zent having a really tough time here into the combo of that Ram alongside that May, but How to Draw getting forced out equally as effectively is a really solid answer back here for the side of One More Team. Their defense still getting work done, but Gangam on this May so able to sustain here the longer and longer this fight goes on, getting an instant kill at the very end on the switch Lucio. The May might be just the thing to shut down this incredibly mobile comp here from One More Team.
Yeah, this May plays essentially like an off tank here for Play Group, able to stay alive for so long and use these cooldowns to really kind of section off One More Team. It is going to be the wall, not going to find the split, but it is going to find a little bit of a disruption here. One More Team, though, they want to come back in and try and fight this.
I mean, if any team is going to fight at the very last second here, go for that recontest. Taking down Dragon Zent, though, having a tough time on the Zarya, already being the first to fall in these initial engagements, which you kind of expect here with that tank targeting coming out here from Play Group, especially when you're up against the Ramatra and the May comp here. What an excellent duo they provide themselves. So classically King's Row, too, and that is 4 and 40 seconds here for Play Group on their offense. Plenty of time, and bundling One More Team back so far on the defense.
Yeah, that's right. One More Team not going to be able to hold the initial choke point here, which would be good not only for the spam damage of the Hanzo, but for this Venture as well. Now, Dragon Zent has swapped over onto the Mauga here, so looking to run this fight line fight and looking to get aggressive.
Yeah, that's the Dragon Strike coming through as well. No kills this time, but Bastion only still has plenty of tricks up his sleeve. That's a tough spot to be in for How to Draw. Malga swap here from Dragon Zent, I think, is the perfect answer to Play Group's composition. Will they clean up? Yes, that's a team kill there as Best Jinx falls. Maybe not technically a team kill, but in my heart and in, of course, the minds of all of us, that is certainly the case here. Solid recontest, solid swap here from One More Team.
Yeah, this is going to be a nice combo. The stomp coming in from the Mauga, of course, is a little moment of CC here. And with the burst damage potential from the Venture and from the Hanzo, you should be able to get at least one kill here. Nice little positioning, though, as Play Group are looking to avoid that choke point altogether.
Soundbear out here from Switch. Lucio keeping the team alive and kicking here. This is where you want a death ball fully. These two different angles, different looks at this composition here, but Annihilation rolling from How to Draw, still falling a bit low, but taking down those stragglers, and still One More Team eating so much damage here. They've got to play this so much more carefully. With that Mauga, there's really nothing to defend yourself behind that massive body. Once that vanishes from your line of sight, Play Group just get to dive directly onto you, and that's the tough spot for Dragon Zent to be in. Once again here, I mean, these May walls, as long as Gangam is here on this May, it's going to be really tough for One More Team, no matter what tank they swap to actually make any headway.
Yeah, that's so true, because all the space that's being made by Dragon Zent on this Mauga can instantly be denied by that May wall, and that's going to make it hard for Bastion only in time to follow up on things. But Payload is getting very close to this second checkpoint here. Play Group do have the overclock and the Blizzard to work with here. That Blizzard going to be really crucial, but One More Team have another Kitsune Rush ready to go, and the Dragon Strike as well, so lots to work with to try and prevent this cap.
It's going to be Dragon Zent on the payload here, still falling so low. About to have this cage fight ready as the rush comes out from Natasha. Falls down. Gangam, though, getting taken down with that Blizzard ready. That's got to be a defensive hold here for One More Team. If Dragon Zent could stay alive with just a sliver of health, and they've got Play Group on the ropes now, it is going to be a defensive hold here finally. Second fight win here for One More Team, and not a moment too soon.
Yeah, that was honestly the best pick that I think One More Team could have gotten, was onto that May, because it's in these kind of re-engaged scenarios where the Blizzard is going to be the strongest. Now that Play Group have to push back in, it's going to be hard to get value from this Blizzard, and One More Team holding on to all the rolls except for that Kitsune Rush. So that cage fight, like you mentioned, ready to go, and honestly, Dragons could be a nice combo for it.
That is a really solid lockdown, just trying to stay alive through the Dragons. Oh, you do not get to see that every day, folks, but I am thrilled that we did here. Now, that is a true and legitimate team kill there. A 2-for-1, 2 ults spent, tons of value gain there for One More Team. And you come into this next fight here with, again, possibly 2 of the most value ults in this Tectonic Shock and the Sound Barrier.
Yeah, the Sound Barrier is going to be so important here. You need to sustain through the Annihilation for How to Draw. Now, if you're One More Team right now, what you really want to do is get an early pick here so that you don't get forced all the way back to that cart.
Yeah, that is How to Draw and Gengun both falling dangerously low, but able to be sustained as Big Shrimpin goes ahead with that sound barrier. Yeah, Diamond just going to wait that out for a few moments longer there. Switch Lucio does answer back with that ultimate, but kills traded here. Dragon's Den has fallen, so Playgroup do still have How to Draw and Gengun holding on the front line. Now just that Mei here, as one more team have only 2 bodies, but it turns out 2 is greater than 1. Who'd have thunk it here? One more team holding strong in the defense as we're in sub 1 minute territory for Playgroup.
And Bastion only has another dragons. Let me just remind everybody that he used those dragons when Dragon used the cage fight, and he's only at 50% here. The damage from the Hanzo is absolutely incredible, and Playgroup is going to make a swap. How to Draw is going to move over on to this D.Va now, but the D.Va versus the Mauga in an overtime situation is definitely not going to favor Playgroup here. So right now, they need to build up this overclock from Valerian. They need to get him over on an angle so that you can catch one more team out by surprise.
Valerian having this overclock here, yeah, looking to find out Bastion only, who is wise to those tricks, of course, able to access the high ground. It's really so difficult for anyone but that D.Va to dive onto this Hanzo, and of course, How to Draw is locked up on the front line so heavily here. Dragon's Den merits so much focus at all times. The Dragons come through, and once again, Big Shrimpin is the target. Locked out that Lucio, no slipperiness available to you, despite the hunger of the Dragons. It cannot be saved. Overtime rolling here. Defensive hold looking likely. Gangam able to get into that ice block just in the nick of time here. The Blizzard comes through, so if you can lock up and get a kill, but unfortunately just enough members of one more team are alive to lock down that Mei, dice her out of this engagement. It's going to be Playgroup desperate to get a retouch, a re-engage, a recontest here to lengthen this fight, but when you are forced off the objective, oh, the barreling of that Mauga coming towards you. Dragon's Den building up towards that cage fight. Even if you live, even if you get back to the point, you're gonna have a really rough time there. So that is a point B hold, despite a blistering pace set by Playgroup on their offense. They're just not able to get any further than the absolute doorstep of point B.
And that's a really impressive hold on second point. It's not often that you see a recontest come through on second point of King's Row and have that team come out on top here. So it was a fantastic re-engagement there for one more team to shut the door on that second point. And Playgroup now, this is tough. You need to put up a very, very impressive defense, especially first point. You need to burn as much time off the clock as you can. Now, you'd love to get a full hold on first point, of course, but I think that against the aggression that's coming through from one more team, it's gonna be hard, right? They're playing a lot of these kind of poke styles, right? Bastion only probably gonna be out on the Hanzo again. You're gonna be able to get onto the high ground, and there's so many angles from that high ground that are gonna be able to shoot down onto the point. So if you keep Dragon's Den on this Mauga as well, that's so much presence on the point, just HP-wise to work with here. So Playgroup on the defense are gonna start with How to Draw over on this D.Va. I like Pink Shrimpin over on the Wu Yang here as well. Instead of that Lucio, gonna have some more of that kind of poke damage to do. And then Gengham on the Mei as well. So I think that the Mei gonna have a little bit easier of a time on this defense, but really interested to see if okay, we're not gonna swap on the Lucio Mercy. Okay, I was speechless for a moment, but anyway, it is gonna be the Lucio carry backline. It's just back to basics now for one more team on this attack.
Yeah, just looking to amp up Diamond for that potential Widow one-shot there, but no dice. And that is a high ground dive here from Dragon's Den, closing that gap massively. This is not exactly what we expect to see him out on the defense. You can already see Playgroup desperately trying to get out of dodge here, but you still have to worry about this incredibly fast-paced, large health pool tank, large target to be fair here. But Dragon's Den on the high ground is certainly one of the most lethal places to find him. Turns out that lethality goes both ways, as Valerian able to stare down that Mauga and not blink, taking down Dragon's Den, who's going to have a bit of a time getting back to the objective here. How to Draw, though, is taken out of that mech, so essentially down both tanks so far, despite the damage coming through. How to Draw getting back into that mech, not able to clean up that baby D.Va, but already one tick on the board here for one more team, so even if they lose this fight, all is not lost. 66% gained and counting.
Do not recontest that Playgroup. It is not worth it. No, not going to go for it. But you're still caught out here. The disengage wasn't fast enough. Okay, are going to have those boosters to get out. But one more team are looking to barrel forward here. They want the stagger kills.
I mean, this is deeply disrespectful here. One more team not letting anyone get away alive. That Maywell from Gangnam hoping to lock up these members in the backline here, but losing that May here anyway. I mean, one more team. This is free push. Expect to see more than half of Streets phase entirely in your hands here with very little to show for it for the defense. I do like the Eraser swap here from How to Draw. You need to make some changes, and I think this is one of the things that it has the best chance of shutting down this Mauga.
I agree, and I think it's going to be much better synergy with Gangnam over on this May as well. If you get these May walls, you're going to have a much easier time bursting a target down when you're on the Orisa compared to that Diva. But this Tectonic Shock is ready to go for Diamond. I think the Dragon's Den is lurking on the high ground as well, so Playgroup don't actually know where the Mauga is.
I know How to Draw still has to play this so carefully. Balerion lets a sigh of relief out there as Bastion only falls. Again, not terribly close to the ultimate this time. Really, that fight was not really gained with benefit from the Hanzo. Diamond commits that Tectonic Shock. We'll see if that's a swap coming through here, as not a ton of value to be gained at that stage of the map here. Dragon's Den onto the Zarya. Does Diamond swap? I mean, you could stick here on the Venture. Honestly, combos incredibly well with the Zarya. Either one of our Ven starting heroes on the DPS roster is more than able to benefit from those bubbles here. But already back in the fight here. Again, when one more team loses the fight, they just immediately GG next. They want to get right back into this engagement here, but crucially, they've reset their ult cooldowns, and again, Diamond's playing that ultimate at the very end. I don't know if that was thinking about a swap and then sticking back onto it here, but Rush laid through from both of these squads. It's going to be the Tidal Blast onto How to Draw. Diamond finding the better of Balerion. Crucial pressure valve released here. The offense have the chance to go fast and go now. Bastion only has these dragons ready, and my goodness, the most lethal Hanzo I have seen on a broadcast. And make no mistake, not that there's a ton of a deep pool to choose from here. It is going to be locking everybody up with that Blizzard was a massive win here for Plate Group, at least on their defense. But crucially, they've lost a few too many bodies here. Hopefully this Terror Surge is enough to lock them down, but How to Draw gets taken out. I mean, is this going to be it? Is this the end? With only 2 people on cart, can Plate Group contest?
This is going to be a really tough recontest here. How to Draw has to swap over onto the Doomfist to try and get a touch here. With not a whole lot of space, there is going to be a contest momentarily coming through here. But those dragons you mentioned, still ready to go here. And that's going to be the ultimate zoning ult for one more team to work with.
How to Draw back here on the Doomfist, desperate just to get a touch here at the late stages, but of course that pick-up potential is more than in your wheelhouse. Plate Group, however, already lost Balerion, easily the first go button here for one more team. No ults ready for them, but as long as they can get the kills, How to Draw is the only one left alive on the objective here. No one else left to touch in time. Oh, and the House of Cards has fallen here, folks. Plate Group were not able to stick it out a second time in 5 maps here, winning it out in 3-2 fashion. Turns out they have done their homework. They have cleaned it up despite the play of this map going the way of Gangnam. It is one more team taking it all. Rain, what an incredible turnaround in this series.
I am very impressed, I gotta say. You know, I called it a David and Goliath kind of at the very beginning, looking at the standings. This was, of course, the 4th seed up against the 1st seed coming into this mid-season tournament. So it was going to be a pretty tough matchup, but one more team just locked in on the comp that they were comfortable on. They didn't feel the need to kind of always have the mirror. Unfortunately, they learned early on in the series that that was maybe not going to go their way. But I think that once they really played into their own strengths and just kind of forgot about, you know, whatever Plate Group is doing, let Plate Group do that, to be able to, yeah, come out on top here. Fantastic showing from the whole team. Definitely special shout outs to the DPS from one more team. I think that Bastion Only and Diamond look absolutely fantastic here, but definitely it was a team effort to be taking down this #1 seed that you had already lost to once before.
And folks, great news. We'll be able to talk to at least one of the members from that roster here in just a few moments. Do not go anywhere. We're getting that set up here on the back, and we'll be back with an interview in just a few moments. So, sorry folks, a bit of a lie there on my part. No interview for this one. The victors decide they're going to revel with it themselves. More than fine, to be sure here. But yeah, a well and truly earned victory there. Instead of, I feel like I still need to decompress after that, Rain. I still need to talk about some of those clutch plays and the massive swings coming through. You mentioned it yourself, that it was those off-meta picks, those solid decisions coming out here from the side of One Team More, that they didn't want to play the meta game. They didn't want to play what Play Group were doing, and that honestly served them well every single time.
And you know what? Maybe they just cracked the code to beating a team that has been undefeated in the entire season. Maybe all of these matchups that Playgroup has been playing has been people playing into their strengths because Playgroup has such a good read on what the meta is. But if you have a good read on what the meta is, it means that you're probably not really practicing against some of these like more quirky compositions here. So if that's something that a team has to work with, who knows? I mean, one more team may have just kind of started the ball rolling here, but definitely still an incredible showing from Playgroup. Unfortunately, this is a single elimination mid-season tournament, so we're not going to get to see them. It is going to be one more team versus Pibble Platoon in that final round here for the mid-season tournament.
Honestly, cannot wait to see that matchup here. Both these teams, kind of the dark horses on their side of the bracket here. So cannot wait to see what they bring out of the gates. Looking at each other's rosters here, I haven't got a chance to see Pibble Platoon very much so far this season, so I don't know if they're sticking more with these meta compositions or if they, like One More Team, are kind of playing, marching to the tune of their own drum here. So looking forward to seeing that when all is said and done here. But there's also more to come here today, folks, at CGL. Couple games, in fact, this evening. It is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Drop the Guns versus Virtus Pronouns Academy. And then at 8, again, is going to be Marsupial Madness versus EIG Assassins. I'll be on that one, so if you do not tire of my voice, you'll hear that one again later on. So yeah, still tons more to go on this Thursday, what will soon be evening here on East Coast time.
Yeah, and you know what? How fun that we get to start off a 3-match day with a map 5 banger here. Definitely kind of setting the tempo here. I'm sure that those NA games are going to be able to deliver as well. But this is just, like you kind of mentioned, this is very exciting for this EU Masters midseason because both of these teams that won in those brackets were the lower seeds. So it's really fun to see how these midseason tournaments can really shake things up a little bit. And I'm sure that that is going to continue over into the NA bracket as well.
But for at least right now, folks, that's going to do it for us. Catch up here at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. That is in less than 3 hours. So we will see you then. Take care for a couple hours till then.